Yo, I realized that me and this dude Rick have a lot more in common than I thought. We was both teenagers in them streets hustling, just selling them bags. He was selling bags of crack. I was selling bags of penny candy. We both got shut down, and we both ended up doing time. Well, not me. Okay, almost the same. What's going on, everybody? It's the Granddad Woolly, and you are here again for another edition of Woolly Reviews Film Data. We got a movie review today. We're gonna talk about the brand new movie that just fucking dropped. When it's been getting a little bit of hype and attention, I asked some motherfuckers, and they was like, "Yo, you should check this fucking movie out." So that's what the fuck I did. These motherfuckers are back for the first time. They dropped some new shit. It's based on a true story, and you know I love me some true story shit because it's real. It's fucking real. Talking about the new movie, White Boy Rick. Now, for those who don't know, White Boy Rick is a new movie based off of White Boy Rick, who is a drug kingpin as well as an FBI informant, all at the age of 16. Nigga, when I was 16, I was just trying to smash chicks and like pass fucking calculus. That shit was fucking terrible. I hated that class. But these motherfuckers out here doing all kinds of crazy shit. I was broke too. These niggas wasn't fucked, nigga. I made some wrong choices in life, but right ones at the same goddamn time. But it's pretty much following his life during the time where he was in his rise and everything that goes on with him, the good, the bad, the ugly, and you just kind of see what happens with the story of White Boy Rick. So now let's see if White Boy Rick is a dope autobiographical or biopic or whatever the fuck this shit is about his life, if it's dope as fuck, or if sometimes, you know, you got some weak ass dope and a weak ass movie about motherfuckers who sell weak ass dope. Or what's it? I don't know. I don't smoke. I don't know. Let's talk about the shit. So the basic setup of the movie is this. It centers around Ricky Worst Jr., aka White Boy Rick, who is played by an actor by the name of Richie Merritt, and also his father, Ricky Worst Sr., who is played by McConaughey. And pretty much, Ricky Worst Sr. is a guns dealer. I mean, a legal guns dealer, but he goes around, he buys guns, and he resells them to people to make a buck. And his son kind of goes along with him. He's a little bit of a hustler, but at the same time, he's also involved in a whole bunch of other shit, just trying to make ends meet and get his thing going. But he's also a teenager and shit. And the movie kind of starts off following White Boy Rick's dad selling all these guns and whatnot, and the FBI is kind of keeping tabs on him because they feel like he's selling guns to certain people that shouldn't be getting guns because they're illegal motherfuckers. And White Boy Rick is kind of just wrapped up into that shit that his father's in, and it turns out that he ends up becoming an informant for the FBI in order to save his father's ass, who could end up doing jail for selling guns to certain people that he shouldn't be selling them to. Also, White Boy Rick himself is involved in the gun selling shit, and he also has probably sold some guns to some motherfuckers he ain't supposed to, so he kind of feels bad that his father's in his position and he wants to do what he can to keep him out of jail. So that's pretty much what the movie's about. It's also centered around his sister and the father's daughter, Dawn, who is a junked out crackhead. She is like Dawn, y'all. Like, if you've seen a junkie, she is like super junkie. She's like Super Saiyan junkie. You feel bad when you see, like, god damn, rehab twice for her, for sure. But they are just a dysfunctional ass family, just trying to make it in the streets of Detroit during the 80s when Detroit was fucked up, run down, and it's the middle of the 80s where drugs were rampant and crazy. It was the middle of the Reagan era where Reagan was fucking cracking down on all kinds of drug shit. So it just was not a good time to be in a bad neighborhood, in a bad environment, in a bad place. I mean, at all. It was all bad all around, goddammit. And White Boy Rick kind of finds himself in a very odd position in this movie because not only is he an FBI informant, but also he is involved with a very powerful drug gang in Detroit that he's pretty much buddy-buddy with. He's quote-unquote working for and with, but he's kind of going on the undercover low, but he doesn't want to blow his cover because, one, he can get killed, his family can get killed, and everything can go fucked up. But at the same time, he doesn't want to stop being an informant for the FBI because he doesn't want his dad to go to jail. So he's kind of like in this fucked up position, and he's still a teenager. The motherfucker don't go to school. He's out in the streets hustling. He's selling drugs. He's selling guns. He's just doing everything that a 16-year-old should not be doing. But I mean, you know, he ain't got no choice because he's just thick in the shit and he can't get out of it. And after a few fucked up events happen, things get worse and worse, and it just turns out that White Boy Rick gets more involved into the game to the point where he kind of just goes away from the whole FBI shit and goes full-blown into the actual drug gang and becomes the kingpin himself. And that's when shit gets even more escalated and crazy. His family gets involved, and then, you know, if you know the story of White Boy Rick, you know how it ends. The motherfucker ends up getting locked up, but the events that goes towards it in the movie that you see that happens to it are crazy as fuck. And I mean, it's just a wild ass movie. Now here's the thing, is the movie good? And honestly, y'all, the movie is really fucking good. I really enjoyed it overall, but there were some things here and there that I thought could have been done better, but I did not hate this movie at all. I didn't think it was trash. Just some small things that I just picked up on. Firstly, I thought that the movie, in the beginning half of the movie, was paced very fast. I thought they tried to cram in a lot of things about White Boy Rick's story, about how he got involved with the FBI, with the drug gang. He also ended up with this girl who he ended up getting pregnant, and a whole bunch of other stuff, his relationship with his father and his sister. Everything kind of fast forwards all the way up to the point where it really starts to get good in the middle of the movie, where it sort of figures on White Boy Rick as the drug kingpin. So everything he was doing as a street hustler, involved with the gang, involved with the FBI, that stuff was kind of crammed in the first half, and I feel like it could have been done a little bit better and told a little bit better, but that was my personal opinion. I also think some of the cameos in here, or some of the other roles in here, could have been also done better as well. Like, you got YG in this movie, you got Danny Brown in this movie, you also got Paperboy from Atlanta in this movie, and I feel like their roles were very underutilized, especially Danny Brown. Danny Brown had a couple lines in here, not even that many, before he ended up not being in the movie anymore, as well as YG's character. He is like one of the sidekicks for one of the main drug dudes, but he just didn't feel, I mean, he did a pretty good job of what he did, but he didn't really command a presence like I thought he would have in the film. As well as Paperboy, he was a cop in here, and he did his damn thing, but I just felt like he could have been used more in this movie as well. But I just felt like some of these other cameos that were really noticeable and probably first time for them could have been done better. They could have had a better character in here, but it was mostly focused on White Boy Rick and his family overall. The other characters were kind of just like sidekick supporting characters. And I get it, it's White Boy Rick's story, but I wish we could have got some more development from the other characters as well. But other than that, y'all, those are my only gripes about the movie. Everything else about this movie is fucking great. I love the acting on here. Matthew McConaughey as White Boy Rick's father is amazing. White Boy Rick is dope as hell. He does a great job. I'm not familiar with much of his work, but shit, he did a great job on here. As well as the sister Dawn, she did a great job. All the other characters in here, the acting is great. The way that the story is told for the most part is great. There's great moments and scenes in here, especially around the middle to the end of the movie, leading up to the trial. And there's even a moment where you feel for White Boy Rick, like you kind of end up getting invested in him, even though you know he's this drug dude and he's really doing these bad things. He's really doing it for a good cause. He's doing it for the sake of his family. He's doing it because he knows that there's nothing else he can do to kind of provide, and he just kind of gets mixed up in this shit. And he's a young kid, and he ends up trying to do the right thing, and he ends up getting fucked over by trying to do the right thing for his family, which is kind of messed up. So when you get to the end of the movie, it's like, Rick, come on, Rick. Like you know he fucked up, but you feel bad that he still got punished for being a fuck up. But you really do feel for Rick in this movie, especially around the end, like I said, because like the motherfucker was only selling drugs and shit, and like he got pretty much one of the worst and severest punishments you could possibly get due to the fact of the time that it was and just the whole situation of everything like that. But he was a fucking kid at the same time. Like, they didn't give a fuck. They put that motherfucker under the goddamn jail for that shit. But overall, I think it was a really good movie, y'all. There were some small things, like I said before, that could have been done better, but I really enjoyed it. I was entertained. I was invested into the characters, especially White Boy Rick and his father and his daughter, as well as some other characters as well. And it's crazy to see how things just developed in this movie, and how just the fate of White Boy Rick just ended up, and just like the nature of how crooked some shit is in the goddamn world of law and the drug game, and how everything is just so fucking crazy. But it's a dope ass movie. I think you should check it out. So my final verdict, I'm not saying that White Boy Rick is a very well put together story that really shows the life of White Boy Rick and what he went through as a kid, even though it could have been done better here and there in some parts. All I'm saying is that White Boy Rick was a crazy motherfucker at the age of 16, 17. He was a teenager, and he was killing it in the game, making all kinds of paper, but also was wrapped up in a lot of crazy fucked up shit. But I think that the story was told very well overall, even though the beginning was kind of rushed for me, and some of the characters that I thought could have had a better and more bigger role did not. Overall, it was a great story, a great movie, very entertaining, a lot of great moments, very suspenseful at times. You felt for Rick at some times as well, even around the ending of the movie. And overall, I just think that they did a good job telling this story and really just giving us an idea of who White Boy Rick was, and the fact that, like, you know, he did all this shit and is still in jail for it. I think he got on parole, y'all, but he's still locked up. But the fact that the things that he did does not merit the amount of time that this motherfucker got, especially with the intentions that he had for what he was doing. But all I gotta say is that for me, White Boy Rick is not Granddad approved, but I will give it a very highly Granddad recommended. And that's only because there were some small parts in the beginning. It started off kind of slow, but it was slow in the beginning, and also it was told too fast. But around the middle to the end, it picked up, and it was phenomenal after that. So I will give it to that. It's definitely worth the watch. Definitely worth the $11.50 popcorn and a drink. It's a good one watch. I watch it once, and then I watch it again when it comes out on like Blu-ray or something like that. But definitely check it out. It's a good cameos from YG and Danny Brown in here, as well as some great performances from Matthew Matthew McConaughey and Richie Merritt, and it's just an overall really good movie. But I got nothing more to say. White Boy Rick is very highly Granddad recommended, so go check out the shit right fucking now. Flip it. Alright, y'all, that's going to do it for today's video. Make sure you give me a thumbs up and drop a comment. Tell me what you think of White Boy Rick if you've seen it. If you have not seen it, it is out today. Definitely go check it out. It is a really good movie. Overall, I enjoyed it. Nothing really bad to say about it except for those small things, but the performances are on point. The story's really good, and you just get a really good idea of who White Boy Rick is. And if you like those based on a true story movies, this is a very good one. Definitely check it out. It's fire. Previous videos on the side, so this is my latest single. Check that out, show us some love. And as always, Twitter, Facebook, SoundCloud, Instagram, links in the description below. And subscribe. Button on the screen, button below, Woolly Reviews, twice a week, as well as the gaming video, Spider-Man on that ass. Also, let's talk about the shit, all kinds of other shit. Just check it out in the info below. And I got nothing more to say. So until next time, I'm going to take my leave. Granddaughter, White Boy Rick, shit's fucking crazy. Rick, you was a crazy motherfucker when you was a kid. When you get out, don't do no more crimes. Ever. For the rest of your life. Because, nigga, like, that shit wasn't worth it at all. Like, I'm glad I just sold candy. Because, shit, I couldn't have did that time. I could not have did that time. I'm out of here.